Hello and welcome to the Over and Back Classic NBA podcast. I am Jason, and with me as usual is Rich. Hello, Rich.
What is going on?
Not a lot, sir. Just enjoying a exciting first 20-ish games or so of the NBA season. Already some interesting history in the making. One of those things is Luka Doncic, who is having one of the best sophomore seasons in NBA history, at least so far, 23 games into the season.
Yeah, it's an incredible season, and we're going to talk a lot right now about Luka, what he's accomplished, and then talk a little bit about the history of what he's accomplished yet. And understanding, yes, that obviously it is early in the season. He's got, as of this recording, 23 games played. So there's a chance that he just absolutely, just craters the last half of the year or whatever. But like, I think we're pretty safe in saying, hey, this guy, he's in rarefied air right now. And some people might say, oh, that's just a small sample size. But I really do think that we are seeing something special here. And that's a big reason why we're doing this, because there has been a lot of guys who have obviously played sophomore seasons. There's been a lot of guys that have played in the NBA. And he, as of right now, as this recording, is in rarefied air. So I think, I can see the argument that some people might make of, oh, geez, it's kind of early in the season. But I mean, having watched him play and seeing kind of what's going on, like, I don't really expect him to all of a sudden just start like averaging 14 points a game for the last like 2 months of the season. Like, I think what we're seeing is what Luka is going to be. And I don't know if he's always going to be this high, and I don't know if he's always going to be this good, but I have no reason to believe that he's not going to be. So that's why we're kind of doing this. So again, like, I understand, 23 games we're talking about at this point in the season, but still I think we're pretty safe in assuming that he's going to keep up numbers comparable to this for the rest of the year at least.
Yeah, assuming health and assuming it all goes well, I think he's going to have an incredible historic season. Whether it quite matches the numbers that he has right now, which are 30 points per game, 9.8 rebounds, 9.2 assists, kind of close to averaging a triple double in a season. And we've talked previously about that in prior episodes, even before Russell Westbrook, really made his history in recent years. So that's become a more, almost common, getting close to milestone. But still, in a small amount of companies, we'll get to here when we talk kind of about other guys who have had, seasons comparable to this. Shooting the ball well, 47% from the field, 61% from two. I mean, just really. Playing in a way that is, the numbers are there, but stylistically is, pushing the game further, even pushing it in ways that James Harden, hasn't pushed it, or I think pushing it on a similar level in terms of just the amount of time, that he's handling the ball, the amount that he's shooting, the amount that he's distributing, just the amount that the ball is in his hands at such a young age is just really incredible.
Yeah, he's a 20-year-old leading, what is one of the better offenses, and as of this recording, the best offense in basketball per offensive rating, with 117.9 points per 100 possessions, which, again, like, we're talking about Harden, who's in the midst of having another, like, incredible, oh my God, I can't believe Harden is doing this every single night type season or whatever, and you got the Milwaukee Bucks, who are obviously a powerhouse with Giannis and everybody in that cast. You got the Lakers. I mean, there's a lot of good, really, really good teams in basketball, yet the number one offense in basketball is this team, which, as you said, is being led by a 20-year-old who's really kind of the power forward while also the point guard, while also, like, he's just kind of it's real rare what we're seeing out of him right now. And what's interesting too, if you look at some of the advanced stats, he's number one in the league right now in box plus minus, with just an insane total right now for him. He's at 13.2 box plus minus. He's leading the league in value over replacement player at 2.9 right now as well. His win shares 4.7. Last year he had a 4.9 the entire year last year in 72 games. At 23 games, he's already at 4.7 right now. So I mean, we're talking about already a very, very good season. And yeah, if he keeps on even a somewhat similar path to what he's doing right now, we're talking about a historic, really, really, maybe an all-time great sophomore season, and that might, some people might be like, oh yeah, well, there's been greats in history. Well, we're going to talk about him. Like, that he is in a class with just real, like, elite guys. Like, most of the people we're going to talk about over the next hour or whatever are going to be Hall of Famers, or have been Hall of Famers, or are Hall of Famers or whatever. Like, so it's amazing to see the company that he's in right now, and it just has me excited to see if this trajectory can last, and then the real decision coming at the end of the year is like, this guy could win MVP. Like there's a real case right now that he could win MVP, which would just be absolutely nuts at age 20 in a sophomore year. Given especially his stature, his body size, and all this sort of stuff. Like there's a lot of just like, there's a lot of stuff working against him in a lot of ways, but he's still kind of making it all work. So it's been a ride. I've been enjoying the hell out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of sophomores who are having fun seasons. Obviously, the guy who Luka was traded for, Trae Young, is really having an exciting season. 28 points per game. He's really exciting. Just incredible shot making, incredible play. The Hawks obviously not playing as well as the Mavericks, but still a young, exciting team.
That is certainly an understatement. You are right.
Right. Not as good.
One team has 16 or 17 wins, and the other has 4 or 5 or whatever the hell they're at. But I like it. You're right.
All right. You're right. Hey,
but they're just as exciting. I will give them that. They don't win, but god damn it, they're exciting.
They are exciting. They're very exciting. Listen, I lived through the 2004-2005 Hawks, so I know how to be positive. I know how to take, a not great situation and, look at the best of it. So I put my faith in Al Harrington for a long time. So I can put my faith in Trae Young, like Wendell Carter, Duncan Robinson, Mitchell Robinson, a lot of, guys in their second years, some of them in smaller roles, obviously, but, are showing some, showing some things. They're playing real well. Are producing in a way that we don't normally see second year players produce. But obviously Doncic is on another level. And as we talked about the numbers before, 30 points per game, 9.8 rebounds per game, 9.2 assists per game, 47% from the field. So if you just filter it on 30 points per game and 47% shooting, here's a list of the guys that you get. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it 3 times. Giannis, who's actually doing it this season, 2020 season, same season as Doncic, so a partial season. Tiny Archibald, Rick Barry, Walt Bellamy, Will Chamberlain did it 6 times. Steph Curry, Adrian Dantley did it 4 times. Kevin Durant did it twice. Julius Erving, World Be Free, who did it in the year with the Clippers, where I believe he was second in the league in scoring. George Gervin, who did it twice. Connie Hawkins, who did it his second year with the Pipers in the ABA with the Minneapolis version, only played 47 games that year. Dan Issel, LeBron James, who did it twice. Michael Jordan did it 8 times. Bernard King, Karl Malone, Moses Malone, Bob McAdoo did it 3 times. Oscar Robertson did it 6 times. Dwayne Wade and Jerry West, who did it 3 times. So I don't know if we count how many players there, but it's less than 20. And all of them, with the exception of World Be Free, Hall of Famers.
Yeah, that's a hell of a list right there. I mean, you're talking about the all-time greats in basketball, and that's just like one of the base stats that we're talking about with Luka there, with 30-plus points per game, 47% plus shooting, and yeah, you're talking about everybody Hall of Famers except for World Be Free, and pretty much like a who's list. Like that is pretty much, other than like a Bill Russell type or a few other guys you can kind of move in and out, that's like a very good, top 5, top 10 list of all-time great players is listed there. So yeah, that is good company to keep for Luka, just starting off at the baseline of his stats that he's doing this year.
Right. And then if you look just in terms of 30 points, 47% shooting, and 9.8 rebounds, that list is only Kareem 3 times, Giannis, Walt Bellamy, Will Chamberlain 6 times, Irving, Hawkins, Issel, Karl Malone, Moses Malone, McAdoo 3 times, and Oscar Robertson 3 times. So 22
filtered. Yeah, it's insane. 22 times it's ever happened in the history of the game. One happening this year as well with Giannis in addition. But yeah, that's spectacular again. Like, that's just unbelievable. And now we've eliminated your World Be Frees or whatnot, your only non-Hall of Famers. Now you're left with just like great players, up and down the list. And you've also, interestingly enough, lost like your Jordans. You've lost kind of your volume scorers, and now you're getting guys that are just kind of all around good players, or dudes that are like 7 feet tall and giant men like Kareem and Wilt and Giannis and Luka Doncic. It's like, oh, all right, like exactly. And then of course you have Oscar Robertson, guys, one of the better, all time, all around players. But yeah, these other guys are really like, we're talking about big dudes, strong guys, like guys that really like physically stand out. And then Luka Doncic as well. So it's like pretty interesting to see that. But so we've kind of filtered out our guards, for the most part, except for Oscar, we filtered out a lot of the volume scores as well by adding the rebounds in there. So it's an amazing company there again.
Right, and so if you take out the rebounds but you add the assists, so now it's 30 plus 47% and 9.2 assists. You have two players, Tiny Archibald and Oscar Robertson, who did it 6 times. So
that's nuts. Yeah.
Right. Yes. 2.8 rebounds the year that Archibald did it, so not quite there in the rebounding, but
well, he's tiny. He's literally tiny.
It's in his name. Yes, well, yeah, it's in the name. So, but yes, if you filter on all the numbers, the 30 plus points, 47% shooting, 9.8 rebounds, 9.2 assists, you get Oscar Robertson 3 times. That's it. No one else other than Luka Doncic this season at the moment has done that over a full season. So that includes Oscar Robertson's triple-double season. So that's pretty amazing right there. Those are, again, it's not a full season, but the company that he's keeping is pretty impressive there. And everyone, again, outside of Roby Free, who was an incredible player for a short time, at least incredible scorer, certainly not the complete player that Doncic appears to be. Everyone else is among the who's who of all time players.
Absolutely, and even if we kind of melt this down to the absolute core of Luka Doncic is also 20 years old, which I don't know if we mentioned that as well. He's 20 years old, and he's averaging over 25 points per game. He's averaging 30 points per game right now. But if we filter that out too, and just look at guys between ages 18 and 20, which admittedly there's a large part of NBA history that will not include men that age because they just weren't allowed in the league, or for whatever reason they weren't in the league. But 25 plus points per game is between ages 18 and 20. That list gives us LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Luka. That's it.
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. If we had the ABA, we also had Spencer Haywood into that list as well. But again, we're talking about LeBron, Kevin Durant, Spencer Haywood, and Luka. So that's, again, we're talking good company here.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bump that up to 21, you get Rick Barry, Spencer Haywood, Julius Erving, David Thompson, Michael Jordan, Shaquille O'Neal, Tracy McGrady, LeBron James did it twice, Carmelo Anthony, Kevin Durant did it twice, Karl Anthony Towns, and then Trae Young and Luka Doncic this year. So, yeah, again, very small list. All incredible players. Other than we don't know about Towns, Trae Young, and Doncic, but everybody else is a clear Hall of Famer. So. Yeah,
that's great stuff. Yeah, so now we're going to kind of turn our attention in the show. We talked about Luka a little bit. We talked about everything he's doing and the sort of the play indexes and everything, and kind of the people that he's with and the pantheon of stars that he's with or whatever. But we want to also talk about the other sophomores in NBA history that have been better or as good or had these just incredible marks done in their sophomore season, because again, that's not easy to do, and I think people might take that for granted, and I maybe did before we started this research for the show as well, thinking, okay, well, yeah, I mean, stars are stars and they're going to be stars, but like guys usually aren't ready to go by like year 2. It usually does take a little bit longer for guys to go, and some guys hit the ground running right away. Some guys are ready their rookie year. Other guys, it takes a little while. And we're going to see in this list is like the amount of guys that really stand out in their second year as being sophomores and really like achieve these like high level things that we're talking about with Luka is very rare. I mean, what we just did right there was talk about where Luka ranks all time in history with every other player every year that they've ever had or whatever. Now we're going to filter it down to just sophomores, and you're going to see it. It's like, holy crap, like he's in just an unbelievable category with these other, all time legends who had really good sophomore seasons, but there's going to be a lot of names we're not going to mention as well. Guys that just weren't ready to go or weren't that good in their sophomore year. And that makes it all that much more impressive, what Luka's doing.
Yeah, for sure. It is quite an incredible list. And you can start off with, the greatest, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Our view, greatest player of all time. I think is that an official position of the show? Have we deemed that true?
I have. I don't know if you have. I believe. Would you agree?
Let's go for
so,
it.
we're doing it. Are we doing it? We're locking
official.
it in.
Locked it in right now. Nice.
The only reason, so it's not. I don't want to call it a troll pick because I really do believe that Kareem is. But it's especially nice to do it when I live in Chicago, and like any conversation that comes up is like, "Hey, you think LeBron or Jordan's the best of all time?" And I just go Kareem, and they go, "Oh, All right, and then they just like nobody ever argues, nobody ever, because I don't want to have that conversation. I do not want to have the Jordan LeBron conversation. I hate era I just despise the conversation. I'm like, they're both very good players. They're both the greatest of all times or whatever. Like in their eras, like I just don't want to do the why do you think this guy? Because inevitably it's going to be I don't play defense anymore. It was harder. And Jordan, know the arguments. I've had the argument. Sure. I don't want to have the argument anymore. I'm done. No, I'm good.
Done.
But Kareem's the best card to play because the guy's never going to argue with you. He's never going to go, well, yeah, but okay, because he doesn't know enough about Kareem probably, or he's like, yeah, Kareem was pretty damn good. Like it's a great trump card to play that you just don't even need to get in the conversation. You just bring Kareem up. But I truly do believe it, but I also believe it even more because it gets me out of terrible basketball conversations. So
I think that's a good way to put it. Yes, I feel the same way. So. But yeah, I mean, probably the best second season of all time. Led his team, the Milwaukee Bucks, to their first and only NBA championship. He went from 28 points per game to 31.7 points per game and 14.5 rebounds per game to 16. He had his 22.3 win shares were the most ever for a sophomore. That's the fifth best total of all time for any season. So, again, that's certainly incredible for only his second season. And the Bucks went 12-2 in the playoffs, while Kareem averaged 27 points per game, 18.5 rebounds per game, and Kareem won MVP both of the season and of the finals. So,
that's the best sophomore season of all time. Luka's got quite the uphill battle if he's going to achieve all of that this year. I'm not saying he can't do it, but we'll see. That's going to be a little tricky. So.
I'm guessing, probably not.
You don't think the Dallas Mavericks are going to go 12-2 in the playoffs and win the title?
I don't suspect it. No,
faith in Dwight Powell.
Hey, a little. I mean, if
Tim Hardaway Jr.'s on that team, goddamn.
Right. I mean, if I ever lose my faith in Dwight Powell, there'd be nothing left for me to do. Basically, that's. I believe that was what Sting wrote originally in that song when he wrote that song. So
I believe so. It was about Dwight Powell. I believe it.
Yeah, it was about Dwight Powell. Yeah.
Really weird, but it was
really, really strange. But yes, so. Yes. So second on this list, we're by the way we're ranking. We're looking. We did a Planetic search for the top sophomore seasons according to win shares. That win shares isn't the best metric ever, but it's a solid stat. Because we don't have the box score plus minus pre-74 for players, so if you're gonna looking at different errors, it's just a way of filter, just a way to have a don't
absolutely and these
don't
guys
yell
are
at us about stats is what I'm saying. So
right, and most of these guys are in here too, just because they like. There's ones that had like fun seasons or interesting seasons, or ones that we absolutely want to talk about. So there's not a strict order, but there's a reason why these people are in the list. And the next guy we're going to talk about here is George Mikan, who in his second BAA NBA season was already age 25. So again, this is the other thing that we're talking about where Luka's 20. Mikan at this time was 25, but obviously different eras, different ways to get into the NBA at that time. He accumulated 21.1 win shares. He scored a league high 27.4 points per game that year. He led the Lakers to the very first NBA championship after the BAA NBL merger. And he's kind of here on a technicality. It's a little interesting because he had 2 pro seasons in the NBL and then switched leagues to the BAA. The NBA is kind of weird about how they classify that. So Mikan's a weird one that I wanted to mention him because if you do a search, you're going to see Mikan's name up there. But there is a technicality too, because depending on what you think of the NBL, which you should think it belongs to be, belongs as a pro league in history, there's a little bit of weirdness in there. But George Mikan, regardless, that's his season. So we just wanted to include him because he's going to show up on lists. So might as well.
Might as well, yes. So a good explanation there. Third is Wilt Chamberlain, his 1961 season with the Philadelphia Warriors, 24 years old. He finished third. Not a surprise to have him in here. 18.8 win shares, so down from 21.1 for Mikan and Kareem. 22.3. I must maybe slight surprise because Wilt was always at the top of the leaderboard in win shares, but still, of course, among the best ever. He led the league in points, rebounds, field goal percentage, minutes played, and games played. his rookie season, he had 37.6 points per game and 27 rebounds per game. This was a bit of an improvement, but he would even have a bigger leap in his third year when he would average 50.4 points per game, 25.7 rebounds per game. So 38 points per game in his second year. It's the highest scoring average by a second-year player ever. It's in the top 10 all-time. Wilt has most of those, of course. And then if you look at the highest scoring average by any second-year player ever, second is Rick Barry at 35.6. Kareem is third at 31.7. Oscar fourth at 30.8. And Jerry Lucas tied basically with Oscar at 30.8 as well. And then Luka is next at sixth all-time. So, I definitely would not have expected Luka to be, among a 30. I think being a 30-point scorer was not. That was the thing that I think of the other stuff is not a huge surprise necessarily. I mean, it's ahead of schedule certainly, but I think the fact that he would score at that level that much at that volume is a surprise to me.
Absolutely. No, I think that's the thing that takes me most aback by watching him these days, because I always knew and I kind of always had faith when he came into the league too that he was going to be that kind of all-around player, similar to kind of a poor man's LeBron James, where it's going to be like he's going to score 24, 23 points a game, but also have 10 assists and 8 rebounds and kind of be all over the court and doing all that sort of stuff. But to up that scoring to 30 points per game is insane. And when we first ran these numbers, we were going to do the show a few weeks ago, and then of course the holidays happened and we got a little bit busy. I mean, he was even higher on some of these lists a few weeks ago when he was on the doing a string of 50-point games and stuff, or a string of 45-point games or whatever it was. It was kind of amazing what how high he had reached. And now we see sort of the quote unquote come down, but the come down is still he's sixth all time in points per game for a second year player all time, which is just absolutely nuts. So yeah, I'm the same as you. I did not expect the scoring to come as easily and as fluidly and as quickly as it did for Lucas. That definitely stands out there. A few of the modern players we've kind of gone over, like Wilt and George Mikan and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar so far. Modern players, really good sophomore years. Shaquille O'Neal and David Robinson. So Shaq and David Robinson are pretty much the best I would call modern sophomores that we can really look at. In modern era being, I don't know, whatever you want to classify the modern era. I guess I'm getting old now, so I don't know. Maybe David Robinson and Shaq are not the modern era anymore. Maybe I've gotten old and people are just. Would you consider that? Is that okay if I call it the modern era still?
Oh man, I'm older than you are.
You are very okay. You are not the person to ask. Okay, I'm gonna have to ask a child what they consider.
I do not think a child would consider that the modern era.
They probably wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know how to delineate the modern era. That's probably we're gonna have to table that one for another.
Man, because to me this is, but there's no way if I ask a 15-year-old hey, David Robinson, 1987, modern era, right? And they're like, oh, get out of here.
Yeah. That's probably going to be an excellent topic of conversation for our holiday special.
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's great. Yeah. Let's table that one and bring it up then, because that'd be a real good one. That would definitely fill some time there when we're trying to watch whatever game we're going to watch this year. Which hints, we'll see. Anyway, Shaq and David Robinson, probably the best quote unquote modern sophomores. Robinson's 17 win shares, Shaq's 16.9 are the fifth and sixth best ever. Robinson had the advantage, of course, like George Mikan, of being a 25-year-old sophomore, and it showed as he averaged 25.6 points per game and a league best 13 rebounds per game. Also for the 55-win Larry Brown led Spurs, which again we talk about this all the time. But Robinson's rookie year kickstarted a 7-year playoff streak for the Spurs that only ended when he got hurt in 1997, and then after that year they are now on a 22 straight year playoff streak. I think that's going to end, though, this year. My hot take is the Spurs ain't that good, so I think that might finally stop. But yeah, we always want to bring that up, because I think people think the Spurs were just whatever, and then Duncan came, and then they were good. No, they were good when Robinson got there, and they've been good now for the last 30 years. My entire life has basically been the Spurs have been in the playoffs, save for 1 year where maybe even if they tried, they may have gotten in there, but it was obviously that hey, you know what, let's not worry about it, sit the rest of the year, we'll go draft someone good. And then they drafted Tim Duncan and kickstarted 22-year playoff streak. So just want to point that out. We always try to do that with the Spurs, is show some respect for your Spurs. But Shaq, 29.3 points per game his sophomore year, an improvement on his 23.4 points per game from the rookie year. Better yet, Orlando became an actual threat in the East as well. They had a 50-32 record under Brian Hill. Orlando made their franchise's first playoff berth that year as well. They were quickly swept by by Indiana rather, but this was the beginning of Orlando really becoming a force. Pretty much until Shaq was gone there, and they were at least an Eastern Conference contender in a lot of ways. But this is kind of their first playoff berth. Yeah, they get swept quickly by Indiana, but the makings are all kind of coming together for this team to be one for the long haul too. So really good modern quote unquote years here for all time win shares and all time sophomores.
Yes, if you look at the players who had 14 or more win shares in their second seasons, it's a lot of older players. We mentioned Mikan, Ed McCauley in 51, Alex Groza in 51, Paul Arison in 52, Neil Johnson in 53, Wilt, as we mentioned, 61, Oscars, we mentioned 62, Rick Barry in 1967, and Jimmy Jones of the New Orleans Buccaneers.
Jimmy Jones?
I know.
Have we ever talked about Jimmy Jones? I don't think we have. Let's talk about Jimmy Jones.
We have a little bit, but not very much, no. Jimmy Jones certainly not, We'll have to find some other things to talk about with Jimmy Jones, because all of my notes I've forgotten about Jimmy Jones outside of the stat which I just found out. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Artis Gilmore in 73, Bob McAdoo in 74, David Robinson and Shaq, as you mentioned, 91 and 94, and then the most recent one, which you wonder if it's even in the modern era because it was 15 years ago, LeBron James in 2005. So that is the complete list right there. And again, as we're talking about, this is an extremely rare, circumstance for three times it's happened since the 74 season. So three, what you could even consider modern examples, and the most recent one is 15 years old. So, and we'll see. I think Doncic is on pace to do that. It's kind of very close. We'll see if he actually does get there. That's something that he may not quite achieve, but still, that it is definitely a short list.
Absolutely. Now, some other things we're kind of point out here as we're talking about sophomores and standout seasons or whatever. MVP in their sophomore year. Only a few guys have done this. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, the aforementioned Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bob Pettit, and Bill Russell, the only players to win MVPs in their sophomore year. So again, if Luka does defy the odds and does win his MVP, he will enter that pantheon of players of Kareem, Bob Pettit, and Bill Russell, MVPs in their sophomore years. So very, very rare company there.
Yes. Also, only one player who has won the Defensive Player of the Award in their second year. It was the Spurs' Alvin Robertson. He was well known for stealing the ball and being a great defensive guard of his era. So he is the only player to win Defensive Player of the Year in his second season.
Absolutely, yeah. So some other things too. All NBA in their sophomore year. So again, I'm loosely using modern era here, but it's not a super rare accomplishment to win All NBA or to be named All NBA in your sophomore year. But it is for like these times because so Duncan did it in 1999. So our first one that we had to go back to is 1999, which is again like that's a long time of no sophomore making the All NBA team, All NBA first team I should say. Anthony Hardaway did it in 1995. Latrell Sprewell does it in 1994. David Robinson does it in 1991, and then we have to go all the way back to 1981 with Larry Bird. So you get a little bit of a glut there with Anthony and Duncan and Sprewell and Robinson, and then we have to go back 10 years after that to Larry Bird, and then all time only 28 players made All NBA first team in their sophomore year. So very, very rare company there, very elite company in a lot of ways, and something that happened a lot in the 60s and the 70s or whatever, very rarely happened in the 80s, and as we see, barely happened in the 90s and had not happened since 1999. So yeah, that would be another tremendous accomplishment if Luke can get to that. And it's gonna be tough. I mean, that is a tough category to get into. I mean, we're talking about All NBA. So I don't know if he's gonna get there, but I would like him to get there because yeah, it's just cool to kind of see that record be broken or add another name to that list. But yeah, we'll see at the end of the year how that shakes out.
Yeah, I would think he would be. I would think he'd be favored. I mean, you would think that obviously Harden is going to be the other guard, but he definitely has a chance of being of making his guard. I mean, the other players who probably would make it, you would think at this point, would be LeBron, Giannis, and Anthony Davis. I don't know if there's anyone else who's. I mean, obviously it's early. There could be other players who jump up into that list, and maybe they won't have two Lakers in the first team. But those would kind of be my thoughts. I think he would be the favorite for the other guard. I'm having a tough time thinking about anybody who I would say would be obviously ahead of him right now without digging into it more. Anybody who comes to mind for you?
Not really, and that's why I'm kind of excited about this. Is right now it's like, ooh, we have the makings. Like this is the first time in a long time we really do have the makings of this guy possibly making the All NBA first team as a sophomore. And yeah, like I'm with you. I don't see anybody right now. And again, that's why my hope is that he doesn't kind of tail off in the last few months, and then you can make a case for whoever, any number of guys that maybe have better seasons. But as it stands right now, if the voting was going to go right now, he's absolutely on that first team. So that'd be incredible to have that take place. So.
Definitely. So Jimmy Jones, he was a 6-time ABA All-Star. 3 years with the Buccaneers, 1 year when they moved to Memphis, and then 3 years with the Stars before he did jump to the NBA at age 30 and played a little bit more than 2 seasons with the Bullets as a reserve, but was on the 75 team that made the finals. Not a whole lot about the colorful not too many colorful aspects of his career. Even remember, the ABA doesn't have a whole lot in the and that he was drafted by the Bullets, but he figured that Earl Monroe would probably get more playing opportunities, so he decided to go to the ABA instead. And then he was sort of his coach. Babe McCarthy liked big, high-scoring guards, and he was 6'4", which is a pretty big guard at the time. So that's about it in terms of Jimmy Jones upon a curse research. But we'll have to do him better justice later because he was an important player in ABA history.
Yeah, I'm surprised that there is not that much. Yeah, as we were kind of talking about him, I was doing the same thing of kind of going and clicking and seeing, I must have just never, looked at. But yeah, there's really not much about him, which is kind of surprising. But I'm sure if we kind of dig in and really put our minds to it, we can find some stuff. But yeah, I like the idea too that he's from Louisiana and he gets drafted by the New Orleans team in the ABA, and it's like, yeah, sweet, great, I'll stay home and do that. Like, I love that idea. I do enjoy that, where it's like, I could go to the NBA and go to Washington, but hey, I'm going to stay in New Orleans and do what we're doing here, and I'm going to get more playing time, and I'm going to get this and that, and like, that's cool. It's a great choice to make, and that's why I do wish that in some cases there was, this is why we love the ABA and why we talk about the ABA, is the idea that like this player had a choice and like could stay in this other league and had that leverage to sort of choose to go to the ABA and play there in a different league in a different atmosphere or whatever. It's kind of cool just that exists on any level, or because of course obviously that doesn't anymore. So I like my random sports leagues. It's fun. They're good.
Yeah, it's fun.
They give people options, and that's always good too. So
we like options. Yes. So notable. A couple notable sophomore seasons that probably deserve to get mentioned. Didn't necessarily make the categories here, but Larry Bird's second year. Obviously Magic Johnson won the NBA Finals famously as a rookie, but Larry Bird in his second season, with the Boston Celtics, 1981, won a championship of his own. He averaged 21.2 points per game, 10.9 rebounds per game, 5.5 assists. In the playoffs, the Celtics rallied in a 3-1 deficit against Julius Erving and the 76ers to reach the NBA Finals, starting continuing a long-standing rivalry between the two teams that would last through most of the 80s. Against Houston, Bird averaged 15.3 points per game. Is this true? 15.3 rebounds per game, or is that a typo here? I'm going based on your notes. 15.3 rebounds per game.
I don't think he did that. No, that might be a mistake in my notes. I believe that was I don't know, but I highly doubt old Larry Legend was out there just grabbing every rebound left and right.
I mean, he was a good rebounder, and especially early in his career. But that seems a
little high for Larry. Yeah.
Yes. Moses Malone, may have done that, but I'm less. Well, let's dig into this here real quick and see if that is a possibility. He did actually. Yeah, he averaged kind of a lot. Let's see. Because he had 21 rebounds in game 1, 21 in game 2.
Maybe was I right?
Let's see. I'm looking at the wrong thing here. Oh yeah. You're right. 15.3 points, 15.3 rebounds. There you go.
Symmetry. Wow.
Wow. Yeah.
Who averages the same points and rebounds to the exact decimal point? That is.
I know. That's
Larry Bird. Take a stand.
Yeah,
take a bow. Yeah. That's why his back was shot when he was going for somebody rebounds for. Just chill out, man.
Shut up, man. let Maxwell carry
exactly. Let's second those.
Yeah. I mean, he got the MVP, I guess. So I guess
right.
did enough there. Yeah. So, yes. So that was what Larry Bird did in his second season. Now he was like 25 at that point because Larry was an old player in the league, but still an impressive accomplishment there. Actually, I guess technically it's his age 24 season. And then we talked a little bit about it, but Tim Duncan, of course, had an incredible sophomore season as well.
Yeah, Tim Duncan, another one. And this one's a little weird because obviously the NBA season was limited to just 50 games in his sophomore year because of the lockout. But still some pretty interesting stuff going on with Duncan. During the regular season, he averages 21.7 points per game, 11.4 rebounds per game, leads San Antonio to the NBA Finals. And, of course, facing the New York Knicks, Duncan averages 27.4 points per game, 14 rebounds per game, and 2.2 blocks per game as the Spurs win 4 games 2-1, and Duncan gets his first NBA title. It's his second year. Of course, that's going to be the first one. He's also named NBA Finals MVP and basically just kickstarts his career of just consistently great play for, the next decade plus or whatever. But yeah, a tremendous sophomore season for Tim Duncan, even if like stat wise, they don't jump off the board at you, but it doesn't get much better than leading your team to the a championship and winning NBA Finals MVP is pretty damn good, even if, your win shares aren't quite up to snuff with some of these other guys. But yeah, great sophomore year for Tim Duncan.
Yeah, absolutely. And then we talked a little bit about it. Not the gaudiest stats of some of these guys, but again, only 20 years old. LeBron James, went from 20.9 points per game all the way up to 27.2 points per game. Led the league actually in 42.4 minutes per game. Maybe that's why I didn't want to play in Cleveland for that long with leading the league in minutes at age 20. And began his streak of All-Star games. I think it's 15 in a row, maybe 16 in a row at this point. That's still going today because this is year 17 for him, right? Or is it year 16? I'm blanking on that.
Oh, I thought it was 17, but I would have to look that up to make sure. But I believe it is 17 years for LeBron. But
all right, and then led Cleveland to I think they missed the playoffs by 1 game that year, but
it is 17. It is 17. Sorry to interrupt.
There you go. So,
I know you were thinking it like, oh God, what is it?
Yes.
It's 17. Yeah.
So assuming he makes the All-Star game this year, which I think is a fairly good assumption,
it's a pretty safe assumption. That would be a hell of an upset if the fans are just like, you know what, screw this LeBron guy, we're done.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah, boring. Yeah. More like Labor, yeah.
Yeah, oh, there it is, yeah.
Yeah, oh, yeah, there you go.
Opposite LA bias. That's like, you know what, for some reason, everybody has stopped becoming LA Lakers fans.
Yeah, it's weird.
Even though he's still very good. Like, it'd be a terrible, but people, if you're voting for the All-Star, vote LeBron James into the All-Star game. He's got 25.9 points per game. He leads the league in freaking assists right now. Like, get him in there. Come on.
Yeah.
People, what are you doing?
Yes.
Getting mad at hypothetical people for not voting.
Right. Exactly. Yeah, it was a little surprising. I looked up. I was slightly surprised that LeBron didn't get all NBA his second. All NBA first team his second season. But that was a year I think Garnett and Dirk were all NBA first team that year. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's going to be hard for him to kind of correct that. That group that year. He wasn't quite at that level yet. I mean, obviously he got there pretty quickly. In fact, he was first team the next season, his third season. Obviously, yes, exactly. His third season, he was all NBA first team along with Dirk, and Shaq and Kobe and Steve Nash. So. But yeah, it was tough to get there with Duncan and Dirk as the first team, and then Garnett and LeBron were the second team forwards in LeBron's second season. So and Sean Marion and Tracy McGrady were third team. That was a pretty good year for forwards.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's what we talk about. It is like. There's guys that you would think, oh, well, no, that guy definitely had to have made like all NBA, or that guy definitely had to have been like an all time, great sophomore year. And it's like, nah, I mean, it's hard, especially like there's always good players out there. There's always really, really good players that sort of like, it's hard to leap over those guys. And like LeBron would obviously do that, the next year or whatever, when he got up to 30 points per game, his third year in the league or whatever. And that's when he really reached like another, elite level of play. But the fact that Luka's doing that already at age 20 is pretty remarkable and pretty significant too. So that is, that's the whole point of this entire show is like, hey, appreciate what we're seeing right now, like, and realize how historic what he's doing right now is. And again, we don't know if it's going to last the whole year. We don't know if it's going to stay that way. But what I'm led to believe is after watching him and seeing what's going to happen, health aside, like, yeah, it feels like we're on this path, and it feels like we're, every week, he's breaking records that are always just like elite players. Like, I forget what the number was the other day, but it was like him and Michael Jordan were the only guys that ever did it. And it's like, when you're in that category, it's very, very rare that you were just like a flash in the pan guy that does that and reaches these heights. So, appreciate what you're seeing. And if you're not maybe watching Luka, if you haven't really had a chance to watch the Mavericks or whatever, definitely go and do it, because yeah, you're seeing, potentially another all-time great playing in the NBA right now. And that's what we all watch this for, right? Greatness. Yeah, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. Very special. I believe it was the most consecutive games with 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists.
That's it. Right. Yeah.
And he broke Jordan's record for that. So, which is not something I would have known, but cool, nifty number. Gives a demonstration as to how versatile and well-rounded he is playing, and it's really cool. Yeah, he's just a fun player. I mean, he's really good. He's really interesting to watch. The team, they don't really have a lot of other good players. I mean, I know they have Porzingis, but Porzingis really hasn't played that well. I mean, he'll probably get better, but and I'll say they're kind of a team of castoffs outside of Porzingis potentially playing well. The other guys really are some good complementary players, I guess, but they're not a team who anybody really expected things out of this year. So they're a good story too. It's been a while since they've been good. It's been up is down, down is up. The Warriors are 5-20 this year, so so a lot of strange things happening, and which is exciting. It's fun to have, and I thought, I enjoyed the Warriors area well enough, despite some of the inevitability that I felt. But it's fun to have a season where things are turned upside down on their head and things feel fresh and different, and some unexpected teams are playing well. Boston's playing a lot better than I expected them to. Miami's playing well. Milwaukee's obviously a juggernaut. So it's an exciting season. I'm glad to see some different things happening, and and hopefully exciting things will continue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been a great season. Yeah, I kind of wish the Warriors thing maybe petered out a little bit, more gradually than like
right.
Eric Paschall and Kai Bowman being our leaders of the new generation of the Warriors. But it's still been it's been a lot of fun to see what's going on there, and especially fun teams like you mentioned, like Boston. Kind of maybe you didn't expect them to be as good as they were. Toronto, even losing Kawhi Leonard, they're still very, very good. The Pacers, even without Victor Oladipo, still good. So yeah, there's been a lot of really fun storylines, and it does feel like we're going to have a very different playoffs this year, and really for the first time in a while, and we talked about this at the beginning of the year as well, is what's cool is like you can make a case for like 4 or 5 different teams to win the NBA Finals this year, and a real legit case can be made for even more to make the finals in general. So that's really cool when you have that ability to to really think about the league and for the league to have some parity. We talk about the 70s all the time, whereas the league, which was an era in the league where it was like every year and almost, pretty much every single year, there was a different team that could have won the title, or a different team that did win the title or something like that. And it kind of feels like we're maybe entering that a little bit right now. And maybe we're just kind of waiting for that next powerhouse to emerge or whatever. But it's always really cool, to have a league where it doesn't feel like, all right, these two teams are probably going to meet in the finals, but let's see if something different happens. Okay, nothing different happens. It's these two teams in the finals. Like, you can make legit cases for a bunch of different teams to make the finals and a bunch of different teams to win the title too. So it's always a lot of fun.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, thanks everyone for checking us out. You can find us at the Step Back at Fansided. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts and Stitcher, wherever you listen to podcasts. We are probably there. Leave us a rating and review, please. And if we're not on your favorite platform, let us know, and we will try to get on it. You can get a hold of us on Facebook and Twitter. On both platforms, we're at Over and Back NBA. So thanks for listening, and we'll be back again soon.